Alrighty, welcome back to my digital reality live stream part 5 of 5. This is the last day of this marathon. Alrighty, welcome back to my... Got another computer here looking at the commands and yeah, nobody there yet, but that's fine. I think for those who rewatch the whole stream. So let's take a look at what I've been doing yesterday. So what is the last state of the application that I've been building here? So this whole project is about, okay, there's somebody, hello, hi you person. I don't know who you are, but that's fine. Yeah, I'm building this digital reality application with processing, which is the software that I use for my personal, for my teaching on my e-learning platform on tinrobenbrücker.de. And yeah, at the moment I'm working on this kind of scene. This is, again, as I said, this is the last day of my live stream marathon. Stick, it's amazing to have you here. We are alone in this room, I think. Great. Hi, Stick. And yeah, this is basically the last state of what I've been working on. So as I said, in the last day today, I would like to see how to wrap this whole thing up. I think it would be cool to just render some material, because yesterday I've implemented a script to make sure that everything I do in this sketch is recorded into a video file. And as you can see, here is my folder where I've got the, where I have the sketches and all these steps following this iterative creative coding pattern. I just render a video every time I hit the record button. Let me demonstrate this quickly. So as you can see, I'm hitting the run button on my processing sketch, and here a new video file is generated. This is a super efficient workflow to to just create a lot of material, and that's basically what I want to do, because I'm planning to do a how to say that, you know, a super cut of this whole series. And in the end, I would like to just put all these videos together and the most interesting parts of them to demonstrate how the how the process looked like. Yeah, that's quite cool, I think. And yesterday I've implemented a shader, and I'm just interested in how it actually looks when I don't use that shader. So this is that scene without the shader. So in these video walls, the whole sketch is mirroring, which was an amazing idea and an implementation by Stick, which is super interesting, I think. So we are moving towards this object. And what interests me at the moment is, how can we create interesting variations of this whole system? So one idea could be that we use some images to see what happens if we use completely different imagery and completely different image material to be displayed on the sky or on the dome that we are inside of, and also for the floor. Let's see. I will go to my very important material folder inside of my creative coding folder, and there's a folder called Bilderpool. It's German for, let's say, image library. And actually, image library is a little bit better as a term or as a description what it's in here, because I always use English. So this is the moment when I will change the folder name to image library. Image library. And in my image library, I have a few images. I mean, look, I've got a folder called material in my work folder as well. And this is more a, you know, a huge folder with lots of resources I found on the internet that I can use in my projects. I always make sure that I collect items within the public domain. That means that these images or these resources that I use are free and open for anyone to use. So public domain means that it's basically the domain of the public. So you can use those materials for your artistic remixes or whatever. Even in commercial projects, those images can be used. Be careful with that. I'm not a lawyer and I cannot, give you any advice on how to use these images for larger projects. But I basically feel quite comfortable with trusting in the public domain flag on specific websites. So that's where I get my material from. And by the way, I've created a video about that a few years ago, and I will just put it into the chat. Let's see, I'm on my website now, and there is a video called Modern Archaeology. I've made this in the first semester of my studies for digital media and experiment in Bielefeld. And this video is a video essay on this topic of public domain imagery. So I will put that into the chat right now. Let me do that quickly. And wow, Sergio is also here. Amazing. Welcome. Stick, you wrote something into the chat for your interest. There's about 30 seconds of lag between you and what we see. Just worth noting when you are asking questions, gotta allow some time for us to respond. Okay. Good to know. I don't know why this happens, but thanks, Stick, for this hint. I'm going to, I will give you some time to, think about. No, you have to give. I have to give you some time to answer. Yeah. Okay. So what do I have here? I've got an image folder inside of my materials folder, and it is full of images that I found on image archives. There are some very interesting archives like Wikimedia Commons or Flickr Commons, or Unsplash is also sometimes very interesting, although I don't use it mostly because I like old photos. I like the idea of basically restricting myself on using very old photos. And I've got some search queries that I just did in these archives. Mostly I look for portraits. I think portraits is very powerful material. And then sometimes it's like, I find specific depictions of people, and then I research about them a little bit. So sometimes I find an image of a philosopher or of a music composer or something, and then I just go to the internet and just research a little bit about them. So this gives the whole image for myself a little bit more context, which is super interesting. Here I found some images of women, and I was looking for some faces that actually look quite contemporary. So that's a big difficulty in when you work with ancient photographic material. Mostly these images look very old-fashioned. So especially women just have a specific way of looking into the camera. Mostly those people look very shy and very kind of frightened, right? So can you see that? I mean, this person is not really looking very natural from my point of view. But this is one photo that I find extremely authentic and it looks very relaxed and very confident. And I think this was a very nice discovery, this image, and I used it for some of my sketches. Okay, and basically this is the material folder where I have all these resources inside, right? There are also some mock-ups that I use. Sometimes I just collect images from Unsplash to get scenes where I can put my visuals onto. And also I did some photographies inside of my hometown to maybe put some visuals onto the walls here. Yeah, cool. This is the work folder. This is my creative coding folder. I go into my material folder again here, and here is this image library. And this is a more curated collection, mostly cut to a square format, because square formats can be both used for landscape and portrait aspect ratios or formats. And these are images that I also edited a little bit. And yeah, that makes it very, very easy to use to get some, to pick some expressive imagery. So for example, this one could look quite interesting for the floor. And unfortunately my Ubuntu doesn't, it's a little bit difficult to pick an image. So I have to see that this is 21.jpg. I will put that JPEG into my sketch here. And I will also look for something more spacey, maybe like this one, 23. Take it in here, and now I will save a copy of the sketch to my sketch folder, or to the folder where all these sketches are stored, and I will now replace the files in my code here. Let's see, 23 and 21. So should this be the dome or the floor? I don't know exactly. And by the way, hello, Krish and Thomas. Nice to have you here again. 21 and 23. Let's put them in here. And I don't look at if I'm actually now using it for the floor or the texture. Whoa, it looks completely different. That's crazy. Very nice. You know, just by switching the images, we can create completely different effects and completely different variations of this whole sketch. It's what I find very interesting. What I see here at the moment is that there's one problem, and it is the fact that, oh, okay, interesting. So that the fact that these images don't have that much contrast. Maybe I find something with a little bit more contrast here. We even could try something like this, like putting a Greek philosopher into the background or a woman. Let's take Simone Weil for now and see what happens when we put her into this scene. This is exciting. Okay, looks like this image is, for any reason, is super, super blurred. Okay. I also would like to see how I can, maybe, I just wanted to rotate this whole dome a little bit quicker. This is the function where I can adjust this, and I would like to see what happens then. Okay, now the whole background is moving very fast, but it doesn't look anyway natural. And also this image is much too small. But it is quite interesting, I think. I think, you know, putting a more complex or more contrastive floor makes the whole scene much more natural. So I think the floor already works quite well. Let's just, for a moment, just see what happens if we switch these two images in here. So that we have Simone Weil on the floor. Okay, whoa, this is extremely cool. And I also would like to have the possibility to look a little bit more to the top. Like, man, that was the following building block. My goodness, the camera is not set in the right way. I need a way to look a little bit more to the top to make this whole perspective a little bit more flexible at the y-axis. That's super interesting, I think. Interaction is not, wow, that's super cool. Where's the camera? Here. Where is the function where I manipulate how I manipulate the position of the view with the mouse? So let's look for mouse Y with a find function, or with a find tool here. This is my, and I will set this, instead of minus 2000, I will set it -2, -3000. This didn't change anything, I fear. Let's set it to -10,000. What happens then? Okay, this is, oh, okay, that was the wrong parameter. Okay, -600 maybe, and I will say, okay, that's super interesting. Okay, Okay, that was the wrong direction, so I have to put this value into the other directions. Let's say set it to 0. Yes, nice. Interesting. Okay, let's set it to 200. I think then we have the effect that we probably will be able to get... Oh, wow. This is so cool, right? Looks very interesting. Yeah. Awesome. Wow. You know, this is super, super interesting. And to be honest, I never did something like that before. I mean, that kind of 3D scene is also a very, very new topic for me. So, yeah. And by the way, as I said, I'm now generating a lot of video material, right? What happens if we set the size of the P graphics or of the P images that we are displaying here to square? Is that easy to do? Is that an easy thing to do? Let's see. Texture equals to g.get. What happens if I say texture.resize, parentheses, and then texture.width, comma, 0, which means that we will want to keep the aspect ratio. Probably this is going to be very small because it has to recalculate the images. No, it doesn't have any effect both on the performance, and the aspect ratio for any reason. That's very interesting. We still have, good morning, Kevin. Nice to have you here. We still have wide screen or landscape format video walls, which is fine. Okay, let's delete that line again. Let's go to the scene and see where we put the image here. Okay, scene.image, and then we just put the texture in here. What happens if we, you know, the image function here, or any image function also has a third or a fourth and a fifth parameter which define the size of that element, and we will set this now to, let's say, texture.width and again texture.width to make it a square. That should work. Yep, now we have square video walls. This is super, super weird and super interesting. Whoa. Okay, I think the floor is not looking good anymore. Let's see if we can use something different. Why not using this rocket start as a background, and maybe this one, whoa, 28, 26. Let's see, 26. Okay, now we have a much more contrastive visual going on here. It's such a simple system with so many possibilities just by changing the files that we use here as image material. Super interesting. Okay, Stick, you wrote much 3D, very fragment, très contemporaire. I hope I spelled this right. Like watching what happens if exploration takes you. Yeah, me too. You know, Stick, this is based on this new, let's say, epiphany that I had when I just read this amazing quote by these two scientists or researchers that said that creative coding is a process of discovery and exploration. So that was something that really influenced how I thought about this stream right in the beginning, because some people, I was talking to Patrick and he said, okay, I think you need something like a very clear goal that you want to achieve, something very, very clear. And I was thinking about that and I thought, no, I don't want to restrict myself to follow a very predefined path without checking out the actually interesting things that happen along the way. So yeah, that was really the philosophy behind this whole, or my basic, or my very first thought when I started this stream, just to follow my intrinsic creativity and the ideas that I received from you, to do something very spontaneous. Wow, I'm super flashed by all these cool things that I've just seen here on the sketch window. Very, very interesting. I had an idea, but it just seems to disappeared. Okay, I think okay, two things. I would like to set a different texture for the bottom, so for the floor, something that looks more like a floor. Okay, I don't need any. Wow, maybe Athens. Let's try Athens. To use Athens as a floor, I think we won't be able to see anything of the city, but I would need something that is more where it's happening a little bit more. Wow, that's also super interesting. Okay, crazy. Completely different, right? And I think it would be also very nice to make that thing in the middle rotate on the y-axis into the opposite direction than the sky. So which is the place where we put these video walls? Here, okay. Yep. What is this again? The vertex. This is the floor. So here I will create another matrix. So scene.push and scene.path to create a coordinate system wrapping around all these video walls. And here I will create a new rotate y function, scene.rotate y. And I think this is probably the wrong axis, but because the whole system is already rotated, but let's just see if the rotation works anyway. Yes, it works. Oh, okay, but there's still a problem because we are, damn it. More ideas, bouncy. I believe animating the walls, rotate them around their center, will lead to a kind of dizzying kaleidoscopic effect. Yeah, I think so too. But the problem is, at the moment I see that, where do I have to put the rotation to make this working? Is it, this doesn't work because the translation of the whole thing, let me see. Okay, Y 1700. I think this is the place that just drags all these video walls to the top on the y-axis. So I can probably replace this with 0 and then use a translate function here. I'm not sure if that works, but let's see. To put that value here, and I will deactivate the rotate function for now. And if this works, okay, it doesn't work. Why? Resetting it to 0 again. Good morning, Speedwolf. Nice to have you back here. Okay. Okay, let's say I put it to the x-axis. Okay. Didn't work. Didn't also not work. Now I put it to the z-axis. Yes, I think that's it. That's what we had before. Okay. Let's set this to 3000 to see if that's, to prove that this is the axis we need to manipulate. Yes, that's it. Okay, cool. Now we should be able to apply the transformation, and I think I will set this to 2200 or 2100 because 1700 was too close to the floor, I think. And now we should be able to take that rotation, put it to the z-axis probably to make this whole thing rotating around the y-axis. Yep, that's it. Here we are. Stick, thanks for that tip. That looks pretty nice. But at the same time, it feels very, maybe we can change the direction of the rotation here. It feels a little bit unrealistic, more unrealistic than before. I mean, the whole scene is totally unrealistic, but what happens if we... Okay, I don't like that, to be honest. I liked it much more before. It is a little bit more calm and not so, how to say that? Yeah, this looks less annoying, I think. Okay, let's keep it like this. What about passing G to the skybox? Oh my goodness, now it's getting crazy. Let's try that. Let's try that. Okay, but before I would like to replace Athens again on the floor to a more, to this one here. I think that looked quite cool. 21. 21. Yep. All right. Cool. I will save another state. Now let's pass G to the sphere. Scene.texture text. Instead of this, I will replace this now with scene.texture .g.get. That was not working. Why? Scene.texture g.get. How? I think there was another way how I just was getting the texture to the video walls. How? Let me see. Video wall, blah, 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 blah. Okay, image texture. Scene.image texture. Oh, of course. I should be able to say texture here instead of text. Texture. To make that thing working. Let's see. I don't see any difference, to be honest. What do you mean? It's in the setup. It's in the setup. What do you mean with that? Texture equals to create graphics. Here texture equals to scene.get. Okay, scene.texture texture. This is the place where this texture actually should be placed. I don't understand exactly why it puts that. Ooh, that's strange. That's strange. Why does it put the image as a texture to the globe? Maybe I'm at the moment a little bit unconcentrated, but I don't see. Oh, that's the place where it gets. Okay, I get it. So that means I have to. Now I understand what you mean with it's in the setup. I think I have to take that function, because this is not necessary anyway. It doesn't do anything because we are not setting the texture to the scene but to the globe. So that means if I put texture in here, that should or could possibly do the trick. Okay, now now it's getting really crazy. Yeah. Okay. But hey, I mean, this is maximum glitch, right? This is maximum craziness. But does it really make this sketch more interesting? I think it just makes it technically maybe more interesting and more intense. But I don't think that it's really beneficial for the, let's say, the aesthetic of the whole thing. Maybe that's a very, we live in a crystal, yeah, exactly. But, you know, it kind of does not that much resonate with my understanding of the aesthetics I want to achieve. So I would personally set it back to the initial thing. So this scene is much clearer, I think. It also much more realistic. It looks a little bit more like something we already know. And yeah, this for me makes a little bit more sense. But it looks like that you like it very much, right? So I get these comments of Stick like, whoa. And yeah. Yeah, that's super interesting how difficult also maybe the perception is sometimes. And by the way, I am rendering dozens of images here now. So dozens of videos here now. So let's go back to the folder. And as you can see, these are all videos that I've just rendered while running the sketch, right? These are all videos that I now can use later on for my supercut. And as you can see, they are much more fluid because the frame rate is a completely different one here, right? It's much faster. It looks much more like, well, looks much more realistic, I think. Wow, crazy. So what else could we do? Maybe we could distribute these video walls to the whole, or, you know, put them more into the whole scene, like, you know, distribute them in the whole 3D space. Maybe that could be quite interesting. Stick, that's a cool comment. Leonardo DiCaprio will appear in a white sky suit with guns blazing if you keep the sketch running. Probably. My goodness, this is a completely psychedelic experience, right? So yeah, let's manipulate these positions here by maybe setting it back to these random values by uncommenting this line of code where we set X, Y, and Z to 0 and see what happens then. And I also will save the sketch now to a new state to 17. Run it. Okay. So the distribution has a magnitude of around 1000 pixels. Maybe I can set it to 5000. And also we'll create a variable called mag equals to 5000 to control it with one variable. So minus mag, minus mag, minus mag, 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 mag. Okay. Whoa. Now we have a... Okay, we have a completely different distribution. Let's increase the amount of elements here by saying instead of creating 20 video volts, let's create, let's say 100. Yeah, of course. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this looks crazy. And you know, it's now getting quite slow, as you can see. Let's also define a size for these video walls to make them look or to make appear in different sizes by saying we create a new variable here, which is called S or wall size. Wall size equals to random 0.1 or let's say 0.1, 1, and then now we have to do it a little bit different. 200 and 800, and we'll put that into the PG create graphics. PG equals to create graphics function, and I have to make this an integer because the create graphics function receives integer values. And wall size should be an integer value here. Okay, cool. And then down here in the scene, I will put w.wall size into the parameters. Doesn't work. Okay, wall size can be resolved or is not a field. Okay. Okay, it has to be an uppercase S. Wow. Okay, that's crazy. My goodness. Let's increase the number of walls here to 1000 and see what happens. Probably it's going to be a huge generative mess. Okay. Okay, the first frame seems to be without displaying any walls, and now we get the, whoa, this is, what the heck? Okay, crazy. Can you, Thomas, can you use YouTube as a texture? I don't know. Does anyone have a clue if that works? I would love to see it. YouTube as a texture, that's an amazing idea. Love that. What about the floor? What do you mean? You mean that the floor should also be g.get or be the texture? Oh my goodness, then it's going to be completely crazy, right? Whoa, my goodness. This is super, super crazy. And we only have 50 frames now. It's really going very, very slow. So if you would do something like that with Touch Designer, that would probably be very quick and very fast. So the rendering in Touch Designer works much more performant. Processing is now really hustling on the CPU. That's a big problem of processing. So 3D worlds are mostly or are more efficiently rendered on the GPU, which is the graphics card. And processing has the problem that many tasks that the software does are running on the CPU, so on the main processor, where all the other threads run, like running the operating system, having my browser open, running everything in the background. And that means there are not that many resources. And the GPU is quite, or is much more dumb. It is not able to, let's say, do complex or very complex processes, but at the same time, those things that it is able to do, it can do very, very quickly. And that is one of the benefits of P5.js. So that scene would maybe, I'm not sure if that's true, but maybe this scene would render a little bit faster because P5 with WebGL renders on the GPU. I think we don't have time to rebuild that whole thing, but yeah. So P3D uses CPU. Yes, I think so, Shay. I'm not completely sure, but I have heard this. So Patrick, my friend Patrick Hübner told me that because he's working a lot with WebGL, and processing is a lot using the CPU for rendering 3D graphics. So I'm not a computer scientist, but I think that's yeah, that's how it is. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think this is a little bit too crazy. I will set the amount of elements now back to 20. And I will increase the size of the video walls to 5,000. Let's see what happens then. For any reason. Okay, that's also quite cool, I think. And the performance is really bad now. I thought it would be much better when I don't create that many okay, strange elements, but it's still very, very laggy. This is the 5th day of my live stream. And I also would like to point out some psychological facts about streaming that I've just discovered while doing this live stream. So I feel like I'm quite exhausted already. So streaming 5 days, especially this kind of very improvised way of doing this, is kind of stressful. It makes me sometimes also have a little bit of fear, like I'm thinking about if specific things work out or not. So in the beginning of the stream, I was a little bit scared because I thought, I don't have an exact plan, right? I don't exactly know what to do. And this is really uncomfortable. It's like a jazz musician going to a stage and playing a solo where he, she, or they don't know what in the end comes out of this whole improvisation. So I'm not sure if you realize that, but I'm sometimes not super comfortable with doing this. But I like the challenge of doing it, and yeah, and I also like to reflect on this. So 28 would be also a quite interesting background, I think. Let's switch the background and the foreground again, or the floor and the background. And I see that my whole computer slows down for any reason. I don't know exactly why. 25 could be a good floor, and 28 could be a nice. Okay, I'm losing my thoughts here. Okay, 25 could be an interesting floor. So let's get back to the sketch. Okay, the file already, I get an error message here. Fine. 25 and 26, 28. I think it was 28 that I was picking for the dome. Okay, the 25 is inaccessible. Okay, let's get back to my folder here, and now it should be working. Whoops. Okay. Oh man, that's crazy. Ooh. Sometimes it reminds me, you know, I played Half-Life some time ago. Half-Life is an amazing game. I really like it. It has a very smart and interesting story. And I played it a few months, or I think a year ago or so. And sometimes this reminds me to the last level of Half-Life for any reason. Okay, can you see that here? These walls are upside down, which is also very interesting. Whoa, crazy. Damn it. Okay. Yeah, Speedy Wolf, you also made some live streams, and you can understand that this is nerve-wracking. It is, yeah. So, but I would like to know: do you have a YouTube channel or something where you just did these live streams? Can we see something that you created? Did you also stream about processing? That's super interesting. Okay, I'm just setting the magnitude back again to 500 here. I think I don't like that Z rotation because that leads to some X rotation. I think this should be Y in this case because that makes the whole thing a little bit upside down. Wow. Man, this is crazy. But the background doesn't look that good, I think. What happens if we take something completely weird for the background? Let's try this one, for example, 4.jpg. Also kind of strange. Okay. Let's again switch the lights on to see what happens then. And also take another image for the background because I don't like this anyway. Okay. $16 maybe. Oh, what's going on here? Sometimes it seems to think that I have a full screen. I want to display the sketch in full screen mode, but that's not the case. Okay, lights make this whole scene much more dystopic and much more dark. And I don't like this at the moment, so I will deactivate this again. And what happens if we switch on the shader again that we created? What? Okay. Okay, things are disappearing behind the sphere, which is kind of interesting. And by the way, in this case, the trick of stick could help out the hint using the hint function to make the depth or the elements not disappear behind things that are at the back in the coordinate system. There we could use this hint function. Yes. Can you implement a function to randomly choose an image from your image folder and apply? Yeah, that's a cool idea. Absolutely. Let's do that. And maybe could you post the hint function that I could use to make the video walls not appear behind the sphere when I'm zooming out of the scene? That would be super interesting. Okay, let's pick randomly random images from the images folder. For that purpose, I will just save the I will save that sketch to another folder, and then I will create then I have to rename all the images quickly to give them numbers. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0. Okay, so we have 10 images now in the. We have this one as well, floor 2. Okay, I'm going to delete that. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I will now create a modulo. A conditional statement with a modulo operator to pick a new set of texture and textures for the floor and the dome when 60 frames are or maybe okay. Wait. Okay, instead of doing this, I will say int random 10 plus. So this will, in every frame, this will reset the texture. But this is probably going to be a huge mess. Let's see. Because it's much too fast then. Okay, 25 is not accessible anymore. All right. Okay, let's deactivate the shader quickly. I think I have to sleep the whole weekend to wow, this is super crazy. Okay, but as I can see, the dome or the background, the sky, still has exactly the same image. Why is that? Because we are not resetting the texture. Yep, we are not resetting the texture for it. Okay. Probably I have to just use the variable text here. Texture mode can only be called between begin shape. The pixels array is null. I think this is an error I had before, so this should not be the problem here. There's an index out of bounds error because I'm trying to access a value in an array that doesn't exist. What's going on here? Why is that happening when I'm saying globe.setTexture text? Why? I don't get it. Texture mode can only be okay. Why is that happening? Why do I get an array index out of bounds exception? Index -2 out of bounds for length 1018. What's going on there? I don't get it. Yes, perp you just randomize textures when you hit a button. Yeah, that's a possibility. Or I can create a modulo, which executes the new setting for the textures every 60 frames or something. But at the moment, I don't know exactly why this error here happens. I have no idea what's going on here. So do you know why I'm getting this error? Maybe we can print line text here. Trying to find a bug. I have no idea where it is. So text load image. We do this action exactly at the very beginning. So, but it says the pixel array is 0. Maybe I have to, let me see. What happens if I take the whole code here and put it into that position? That seems to work. And I still have some colored image in here, but as you can see, this looks very crazy, right? It's really freaking out the whole system. So I don't think this is not so cool. But I can run this function once I hit a button. I go to my interaction tab and I will say else if key equals to R for randomize, then do this. Globe, create shape, sphere, okay. So if I hit this R key, I will reset the textures. Where is it? Okay, here. And then I also would like to make sure I don't only pick those textures that I really want. So I would like to delete 1.jpg and 3 and 3. That's it. So I will rename 9 to 1 and I will rename 8 to 3. So I should have files from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I will also change this in my code, that this is the maximum range of elements to select in the interaction tab. So I will say random 8. Yes, cool. Now I can hit R to reset the textures. Oh man, this is so weird. Okay. Wow, that looks amazing. Athens. That's great. Okay, and you can still see that there's this kind of time lag, right? You see that we have this kind of time distortion. When I hit R, it takes a few frames until everything refreshes also on the video walls, which is quite interesting, I think. Yeah, that's quite cool, I think. Very nice. Awesome. Alrighty, my goodness, I'm completely done, to be honest. This really is, this is crazy. It's really a lot of mental exhaustion going on here. I think I should stop for now, but I'm super happy with all these results. I will cut together a video of these things that I've just created in the last days, and I will share it on YouTube very soon. Doesn't my stream deck work anymore? Yeah, it does. And yeah, I hope you liked the whole series. I really enjoyed doing it. I think it was another great, experiment with myself, and I'm looking forward to do more live streams in the future. In 2 weeks, I think in 2 weeks, I will have an amazing guest in my YouTube channel. I will stream an interview with the amazing Yevan Song. Yevan is one of the most inspiring creative coders I know at the moment, and she creates web experiences that are completely unusual. So Yevan uses web technologies to create three-dimensional spaces with CSS, for example. It's completely weird stuff. And she's super successful at the moment. A few weeks ago, she toured through Europe to visit some very prestigious and relevant universities to show her work. And unfortunately, we both gave a talk at the Iterations conference in Amsterdam, but unfortunately, because of Corona, I was not able to go there. She went there, so I was not able to meet her in person. But in this YouTube live stream, I'm going to do an interview with her, and I'm totally, amazed for that. I'm super excited to kick this off. And so that's it for now. I would say I'm just having one more look into the chat if there's something very important anymore. Thank you so much for your nice words. See you hopefully very, very soon. Let's stay connected via our Discord channel. You're all in my Discord channel, I think. And much looking forward for the next time. See you.